And we're back with the next episode of the podcast for the Pulaski County Sheriff, Sheriff Eric Higgins on tonight. And we've been talking about various subjects, and we want to welcome you, first of all, to have these discussions. And tonight I want to focus a little bit on the detention center, of which you have a great responsibility. And can you just kind of give us an overview of those responsibilities concerning the Pulaski County Detention Center?
Sure. Well, it's a regional detention center. It was built the upgrade of it was built in '94. All the local agencies in Pulaski County, Little Rock, North Rock, Jacksonville, Sherwood, Camac Village, even the VA hospital, everyone who's arrested in this area or arrested by state police, of course, and Pulaski County deputies are brought to this facility and are housed there for court. And if they're not bonded out, they remain there until they go to trial and either found not guilty, or if they're found guilty, they'll remain there until their space in the state prison system, and then they'll be transferred there.
So the importance of making sure that the detention center represents being able to receive the detainees from all of these areas to represent the entire region, making sure that everything is in place and working properly is very important.
Right. You know, it's a 1,210 bed facility.
Okay.
That's what it's built for, but we can house more than 1,210. And we have housed more than that. As a matter of fact, in the last few months, we've been averaging around 1,300 individuals in the facility. But again, it was built for 1,210, and that's like a small city or a large hotel, however you want to look at it. And that includes feeding the individuals. It includes laundry. It includes medical. We have a medical provider there that provides the physical medical treatment, also mental health treatment for the individuals in the facility.
I know one of the things that you talked about, and now that hearing the responsibilities and the territory in which you cover, it's important to make sure that you have proper staff, and also that the intake and all of the things that's needed to represent that intake is working properly, because it's really about keeping the community safe.
Right.
Talk a little bit about some of the things that you have experienced since being the sheriff, and changes that you may have had to make for the betterment or for the greater good.
Mm-hmm. You know, one of the first things we did when I was running for sheriff, I talked to several people who expressed a concern that and when a person is booked into the facility, of course, we take their property, and that includes any monies that they may have, and it's put on their books. And the process for them receiving their money back was a check would be issued to them. The problem was if a person's arrested, say, on a Friday morning, and they're released on Friday afternoon, they may not have a check issued until Monday or Tuesday the following week. So that was a concern. That was expressed to me. So one of the first things we did was change that process. Now we give out debit cards, so that when a person is booked in, whatever time they're booked in, and when they're released, they receive a debit card with that amount of money that they had on that debit card, and there's no fee on that if they cash out that debit card. I believe it's within like 10 days. So that was one of the first things we wanted to address is people coming out and having the monies that they came in with, being able to walk away with that. Another thing we addressed was, as for the deputies concerned, deputies that were doing transport were not issued bullet-resistant vests. I couldn't find a reason why they weren't issued the equipment, and if there was a reason, it wouldn't have been justified. So we immediately worked to issue them bullet-resistant vests as they do the transports. Other things we found out that was of need were the locks in the facility. Now, this building was built in '94, and the systems were failing. The previous administration had told me that some locks would fail, and they had a company that would refurbish the locks and then we would reinstall the locks. But those locks would also fail. And when we did an evaluation, we found that all the locks were able to be compromised. Wow. And they don't make the locks anymore. You can't get parts for them. So the company was using old parts from old locks and trying to refurbish them. So we worked with the quorum court. It took a little bit longer than I had hoped, but eventually we were able to get the support from all the members of the quorum court to purchase new locks. That was a 12-month process from receiving the funds and the start of the project of installing the locks. And I'm happy to say all the locks have been replaced, so no one is compromising the locks and getting out of the individual cells. And people have to understand that created problems for an organization that has a high turnover, has historically had a high turnover of personnel. Because people would come to work at the detention center in the hopes of going to work maybe somewhere else in law enforcement, to be on the streets or move on to the corrections department. So new personnel coming in to work there, and then everybody's on lockdown, especially this is during the COVID. Mm-hmm. And people are on lockdown, and you look up and individuals have come out of their cells. So that impacts a person's trust in the system and trust in the security of the facility. So I'm happy to say that we have replaced all those locks, and it's a safer facility now because of that.
And that definitely would represent the importance of making sure that your employees are covered as well. Right. I mean, you lock up someone, and then you think that the system is working properly, and then the lock is undone. That could really compromise the environment. So right. That's very important. What other changes that you've had to make from the facility perspective as an enhancement out of needs that you saw?
One of the things we saw. One of the needs were the fact that you had detainees there that maybe had a grandmother or someone that could not travel to do in-person visitation. And so we worked to establish video visitation where because people who are in our facility doesn't mean that they live in Pulaski County or their families in Pulaski County, but we were able to get the video visitation installed where a person could use a cell phone or tablet and schedule visitation. Now, this worked out for us. We started this process in 2019 after taking office. And, of course, in 2020, we all experienced the COVID pandemic.
Right.
And, all jails shut down. State prisons shut down visitations, and local as well. And so we had to do the same thing, limit contact with people, had to really change our processing in the detention facility to ensure the safety of the detainees and the staff there. Well, when this was implemented for the safety for the COVID protocol, according to CDC guidelines, our video visitation was 2 weeks from coming online. So it came online 2 weeks after we started. So it worked out that we had this in place so that detainees could still visit with their loved ones. And so we were excited about having that in place to take advantage of the system when we had to change our process because of COVID.
We see that there's some enhancements taking place externally outside of the detention center. Kind of talk about the grounds and some of the changes that's being made, enhancements that's been made externally.
So we also looked at the security of the facility, and we saw blind spots where we need to add more cameras. So we add more cameras to the exterior and also in the interior of the facility. But also we recognized the area where officers were bringing or deputies bringing in people that they've arrested. It was an open area outside of our intake, or what we call our Sally Port area, which is a garage area where we generally the police vehicles would go into the garage area and be in a secure location when they're taking the arrestee out of the vehicle. That area is really too small. The Sally Port's too small for the amount of traffic that we have. So what we've done is that we've installed fencing around the area We're probably a couple weeks from final completion of testing all the electronics on it. But we put the fencing up to separate that area, the area where arrestees will be brought in from the areas where people would be released from the facility. We had some issues when people came out of jail, either vandalizing or stealing a vehicle. We also, in this secure area, we also made sure that we secured our employee parking lot from the area where people would be coming out of the facility. And that's to ensure our employees' vehicles and our employees are safe, and also securing the facilities so when a person is arrested and brought to the facility, that if they decide to run from the officer, that they're in a secure area, and also keeps anyone from vandalizing the police vehicles as they're parked out there.
I'm sure the employees appreciate being able that you're making changes and or adjustments, that represents the whole, because you're kind of talking about making changes for the inmates, as from the upgrading, I guess, from a financial perspective, so that they're, when it's time for them to be released, that their finances, it can be released in a timely manner, which is a good thing. The representation, and I think that in terms of COVID, I think it impacted everybody.
Right.
And so we had to start doing things differently. So being able to engage the family, because that's, how important is it because everybody that gets locked up, we'll just be transparent. Everybody gets locked up. They're locked up for different reasons, but some of the things that I'm hearing is that you're doing things to help strengthen that when persons get back on the streets, that they are, because when families connected, there's a representation of engagement to encourage persons to get back on track, to do the right thing. How important is that? Because I think that you seem to listen, that you kind of share different platforms. I mean, you talk about the importance of revitalization.
It is so important. Like you said, there's a variety of reasons why someone may be arrested and placed in our facility. They could be someone suffering from trauma, maybe some mental health issues, drug addiction issues. There's a variety of things that cause people to be in a situation where they're arrested. And so people are coming into a facility where they don't want to be, and there's a chance in there, if you don't have that outside contact with family and with people who care about you, you can lose hope and fall into despair and depression. And that could lead to someone wanting to commit suicide. So we have to make sure that we're keeping that connection with the outside, giving them that opportunity. We also have to look for or give them opportunity, those who want to do something different, realize that they want to make a change in their life. So that's why we offer a reentry program for those coming into the facility, that if they choose, they may qualify to be in a reentry program. So we recognize the challenges that people face when they come into this facility. And if we can better care for them and make sure we're providing the mental health care and the medical care that they need, then there's a greater chance of them coming out a little bit better than they came in.
Talking to Sheriff Eric Higgins, and we're talking about the detention center, the Pulaski County Detention Center, and the representation and how he's worked to meet some of the needs. It's important to not only have a strong, secured facility, but talk a little bit about the employees that represent keeping our community safe and handling detainees and their mental health, and all of that is important as well. Talk about some of the enhancements or things that you may have seen or had to do, adjustments that need to be made from the employee perspective.
First I want to say that we've got great employees. There are great men and women working in that detention facility. They care about their job that they're doing, the quality of work that they're doing. They care about the individuals that are in the facility, ensuring that they're properly cared for. And during COVID, it was an extreme challenge. We saw a drop in people wanting to work in a detention facility. Of course, that was one of the places you didn't want to be, is in a detention facility. So we saw our applicant numbers drop significantly. But the people there continue to work hard and continue to perform excellently. But even with that in mind, we're concerned about their safety, concerned about their mental health, and we try to put some things in place. A mentoring program where employees can mentor new hires, employee appreciation committee to come together and try to advise the staff or the administration how or the things we can do to show the employees that we appreciate them and the work that they're doing. So we've tried to implement some of those things. We've worked with UAMS to do an assessment of the employees, a confidential assessment of what they feel like we can do or things that we can change in the facility, try to help them. And so we continue to work with UAMS to identify ways that we can support the staff in those areas to help them feel safe, help them feel valued and appreciated.
I know we got to wrap up. Got a few more minutes here. Would love to hear just an overview. I mean, you got 4 years, you're in your fourth year serving as sheriff, and I know that like anything, when you take over, that's a major, that's major. Like the Pulaski County, serving as the Pulaski County Sheriff. What are some of the things that you can say that you're proud to have achieved, and what's still on the table that you haven't accomplished that you'd like to see take place?
Well, if I focus on the detention center, then I would say, of course, the body cameras. We put body cameras in the detention center. We put cameras in our transport vehicles. The body armor for the deputies doing transport. Replacing the locks, making it secure facility. We've installed new body scanners. Replaced the metal detectors with body scanners to ensure that we can track or detect drugs and other contraband coming into the facility. And that's working to help the deputies to be safer and the detainees to be safer. The fencing going up. Replacing the control system. That's still on board, needs to be done. We're in the process of replacing the whole control system, and that's going to help the facility be secure. The fact that we survived through COVID, through the pandemic, one of the safest facilities is Pulaski County Detention Facility. Wow. When you look at the number of cases we've had compared to other facilities, we're the safest facility. We have a great protocol in place, working with our medical provider and the employees to make sure that we provided a safe environment as well as we can for people coming into the facility. We never shut down. I want to point that out. A lot of places shut down, but the Pulaski County Detention Facility did not shut down. We didn't refuse people because we were closed because of COVID. We remained open to try to provide a safe, to help secure our county and ensure that those who need to be arrested, need to be a place for them. There's a place to bring them.
That's pretty important, being that you represent the region, intake from the entire region. So that's pretty huge. And so what are those things that's still on the table that's really on your heart as a sheriff that need to be accomplished?
Our facility still needs some upgrades done in there. Like I say, it was built in '94, and we still have to continue to do some repairs. Our generators, that the power, when the power goes out that runs the facility, it's not adequate to run that facility. And that needs to be upgraded to handle the upgrades, and also just when we originally got the generators, it wouldn't run the heat the air conditioner in the summer, but we run the heat in the winter. We need something that can run the air conditioner in the summertime as well. So that has to be upgraded. There's some physical upgrades of the facility. When I look at our reentry program, There's some upgrades, some expansions we need in that area, and I think that's an important area because people are coming back to our community. Some people will say that, what does county detention center have to do with reentry? We have everything to do with reentry. About 80% of the people who are booked into our facility are released to the community. I mentioned it's a 1,210-bed facility. Outside of COVID, about 19,000 people are booked into this facility every year. During COVID, it's about 13,000 booked into the facility. So the majority of those people are being released to our community. And so we have to take steps to ensure those who want help can get the help they need and the connection they can get in the community to ensure that they don't fall in the same traps that they fell in before. And we have probably an average of 17% recidivism rate of those who graduate from our program.
What is this Fall Fest about that happens on the grounds of the detention center?
That the Fall Fest, and I'm glad you mentioned that. We do it annual Fall Fest. October 29th is our next Fall Fest. It is a free event for the community. It is our way. Pulaski County Sheriff's Office is saying to the community, thank you for allowing us to serve you. And so we want you to just come to our facility and just have a good time. We'll come out to your facility. We go to churches, we go to different organizations and support their events. And we'll continue to do that. But we want to say, hey, come here, bring your kids, have a good time, a free event. It's not going to cost you anything. We get donations through our foundation, to the Pulaski County Sheriff's Prevention and Reentry Foundation to pay for this. The vendors may charge. Some vendors do, some don't. But we want to make sure that the community that comes, that they don't have to pay anything to enjoy that event. And it's around Halloween, so we'll do a costume contest for the kids. Just want to have a fun event for the community. Again, just to say thank you for allowing us to serve you.
Serving the community, you invite not only your deputies, but you invite your detention center officers. Mm-hmm. You call them
our recruits. Yeah,
your recruits. How important is that? Because connecting and engaging. Mm-hmm. I mean, the annual event, this Fall Fest that you do, mm-hmm. that's a community engagement thing. The enhancements of the equipment to where persons, like you said, even during the COVID time, they were able to still connect with those detainees. And then you have your detention officers as well as we see deputies out serving in the community. Kind of talk about that.
It's so important. I said we're a part of the community. We're empowered by the community. So we have to connect with the community. And we have to always be reminded who the community is. I require our recruits, new deputies that we hire, before they're sworn in, they have to do community service. And I want them to know who their community is before they have any arrest authority. And we have to always remind ourselves of that because we can become jaded. And the small segment of our community that we may see on calls or we may arrest, they don't represent the whole. And so we have to make sure we're reminded of who we're serving. And when we do that, we'll do a better job of, even when we arrest somebody, that we'll treat them with respect as we're processing them through the criminal justice system. We have to be grounded. And the only way that I believe to be grounded is to stay connected and to continue to serve your community. It'll help you be a better deputy, a better employee, and our civilian employees also get involved in that. It's so important because that's who you're serving. And that's what we have to always remember, that in this career, working at the Pulaski County Sheriff's Office, in this career that you have, it is a service career, and we have to be reminded of who we serve.
You mentioned the word career. Are there opportunities for persons who would like to have a career in law enforcement?
Absolutely. We have several vacancies right now. We're always hiring. We have deputy positions. We have clerk positions, deputies that work in the detention center, clerks both in enforcement and detention, 911 operators, records clerks. So there's an opportunity to come work, and I want people to know that sometimes we shy away from law enforcement. When we think of serving the community, when we think of caring about the community, quality people that care about the community sometimes shy away from law enforcement. I think it's two different things. But serving the community in law enforcement is service to the community.
We've got about 30 seconds. Can you give us that web address, or how can persons connect with the Pulaski County Detention Center?
If you look up Pulaski County Sheriff's Office, you'll be able to find us and look. You can see our link for hiring. So I'd ask you just Google Pulaski County Sheriff's Office, pcso.org, and you'll be able to see a hire button or join us button, and click on that.
pcso.org is how you can connect. We've been talking with Sheriff Eric Higgins with the Pulaski County Sheriff's Office, and we've talked about the detention center. We look forward to having our next conversation talking with the Sheriff of Pulaski County.